Turkestan Islamic Party, a secretive force that some thought was virtually non-existent, now rising to prominence as part of the rebel coalition that toppled Assad in Syria. They've released a series of propaganda videos showing step-by-step preparations for what became the final successful push. Fighting on the front lines against Assad's forces, firing off a rocket near the city of Sarakib, explosive gun battles, entering Latakia, a strategic port city, then victory rolling in on tanks cheered by the public. TIP was founded in the 1990s with a footprint in Afghanistan and Pakistan. For the last decade, they've been based in Syria. Their field commander, Abu Muhammad, also known as Zahid. Years ago, TIP members escaped from China, where they faced severe oppression and human rights abuses. Often they fled with their families. Since then, they've set up villages and training camps in Syria, made inroads with militant groups like Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which led the recent offensive, and built a vast fighting force. After Syria, now China. TIP has always been clear. The end goal? Independence. To liberate their homeland of East Turkestan from the Chinese occupiers. TIP fighters are mostly Uyghur Muslims. Uyghurs as a whole have faced decades of persecution under the Chinese Communist Party. More than 1 million people forced into re-education camps. Thousands imprisoned for praying and fasting, what Beijing considers horrific crimes. TIP propaganda highlights grievances against the Chinese state. The 1990 Baron Uprising, when anti-government protesters were all shot by soldiers. Many, possibly thousands, were killed. The real death toll unknown because the government covered it up. The Chinese Communist Party rules with an iron fist, a zero-tolerance policy for anyone who dares to challenge the state. For TIP, fighting alongside others in Syria was just the first step, and China, the final retribution.
Şerik başarının yallanmaları kanda kaçkan bolsa Allah'ın izni bilen, Allah'ın kudreti bilen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cebareti bilen biiznillah bizning Ürümçide, Aqsuda, Qashqarda aldığımızda Xitoy kafirlar için Qashqarni o'xshash qochadi biiznillah azza wa jalla.
Can TIP take the fight to China? Home to the world's largest military with 2 million active troops. It's easier said than done. Still, TIP could target Chinese projects or embassies abroad. China is very likely to push for the extradition of TIP members. This will be a sticking point for the new Syrian government in building relations with Beijing. A founding principle of HTS was to protect foreign fighters that joined the insurgency. In exchange, they had to promise not to use Syria as a launchpad for attacks elsewhere. It's unclear how strong TIP really is in terms of numbers and firepower. What happens next remains to be seen. Either way, TIP is no longer in the shadows.